All right, everybody. Clint from the Doorway 2, hanging out with a couple of guys from Miracle Blood. So, why don't we do this first of all? Introduce yourselves, tell us what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Andrew Wong. I play guitar and I sing.
Garrett Young, I play bass.
And that's easy enough. So, like I said, the first thing I kind of want to talk about is we'll go into like the history of the band and stuff a little bit. But the first thing I really want to ask is there are these infectious hooks throughout the record, which you wouldn't really expect in what I would call like kind of a noise rock meets kind of like thrashy punk rock record is the best way I call it. But was that done on purpose? Like it almost feels like there was like it's like pop music gone through like an extreme music blender to me. That's kind of like the vibe that I get when I listen, especially to the new record. So
Yeah, that's a great question. In some ways it was intentional, in other ways it just so happened. I think that we kind of know that we recognize that our music is sonically can be difficult to digest because it's so dissonant, and so you try to kind of counterbalance that with something that you can latch on to. So like trying to make a hooky chorus. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're basically making riffs and building on that. So it's not like we were like, let's make sing along chorus. It was more like, oh, like I think we could do this over this riff. But yeah, thank you for that. That's something that we definitely try to do at least when we can.
Garrett, any thoughts on it?
I mean, if you're talking about like vocal hooks, I've got nothing to do with that, honestly. So.
No, the musical, there's musical hook that I'm talking about too. Like there's some catchy riffage going on where you don't normally hear it in like more.
I see what you're saying. I mean, I kind of feel like it's just like we try and make riffs and make things sound the way that like we like listening to them. I mean, it's like I don't think we like go into it with like an intentionality kind of in that degree. We just kind of like come up with stuff and then just see where that takes us. So like most songs will kind of like Andrew said, like we're working off of a riff. So like we'll start with one riff and then we'll just like keep throwing ideas and see like what fits with it. And yeah, like it's often like Andrew will bring like one riff and it's like, all right, we're going to build a song off of this. And we just like see where the creative process takes us.
Cool. Yeah. So now we can kind of delve back a little bit into it and kind of say like, why don't you tell us like how the band came to be, and is it what you expected it to be when you first started the band? Because I've been a musician for 30 plus years and I know 80% of the music I started never really became what I thought it was going to be. So
yeah, so this band started in 2014 with me and my friend Tom, who played drums at the time. And we had kind of like played in other bands together before. And in Boston, you have a lot of people coming and going because of the colleges and whatnot. And we were getting frustrated with losing band members all the time. So we just decided like, what if we had a 2-piece band? What would that be like? And we were very open to what, making that work in terms of like genre and whatnot. And both he and I were very into noise rock, into like post-hardcore and post-punk and stuff like that. And that's where our older sound kind of mostly lied. And then in 2016, Garrett joined us on bass. And then in 2022, Tom left and we got our new drummer, Anthony. And at that point, we all kind of also had this heavy music background where we had grown up like playing like hardcore and metal and punk and stuff like that. So that's why you hear on the new record, it's like, it's a lot more heavy. We leaned into that a lot more just because with the three of us in the same room, that's, the riffs that we were like, oh yeah, that one, that's the one that's doing it for us right now. So yeah.
And I'll just say that like when I joined this band, they posted on Craigslist, they were looking for a bassist. They had some like short releases out on Bandcamp that like they put up there to listen to, and like I just remember like listening and being like, oh yeah, like this guy, like he kind of sounds like Danzig, and like I can down with this. And like it's so funny because like that is so far away from like where we are now. Not like Andrew's voice is like, and how he sings has changed a lot since I joined the band, and like the type of music we're playing is just like, I mean, I'd say it's radically different. Like there's still like a lot of like underlying stuff that's similar. There's definitely through lines and common threads, but like we just have like a completely different songwriting philosophy than like when I joined the band, both in terms of like the methodology and also like where we wind up and like what we're trying to do with it. Like Andrew said before, like we used to really focus on a lot of like dynamic shifts, and like most songs almost kind of felt like they had an A part and a B part, where like the back half of the song would like kind of be like a different song. And I think that we've like kind of like streamlined our songs and kind of made them more gut punchy, which I think has worked very well, and like also it just feels very natural.
Cool. So I came from the band probably from a backwards perspective, because I just heard your newest record first, and then I listened to your first record. So I come from I think a very different perspective. So I've been reading a lot of reviews where they're saying like the first record is more melodic and catchy, and the second record is much, much heavier. I'm not a PC person, so I'm just going to call things out like it is. I hope you guys will just be straight shooters with me. I call bullshit on it, okay? They're very similar records, okay, to me in two ways. First, the way the songs are arranged still have that very common element. The vocal melodies and the guitar tones are still very much the same. The big difference that I noticed on this new record, Hello Hell, and Garrett, I'm glad you're here because I get to talk to you about it. It may be the most fucking nasty bass line I've ever heard in my life. Like it actually makes me smile how dirty of a tone it is. So I think that's where the biggest difference is, and where people are getting that kind of shock feeling. It's a heavier record. I don't think it's a heavier record. I think it's a dirtier record. So I kind of want to ask your guys' opinions on your thoughts when I say it's not a heavier record, it's a dirtier record. What's your thoughts, both of you?
I feel like it is heavier. And like, I mean, but dirty also sounds heavier. So like, I mean, I feel like it's inherently going to feel heavier by having dirtier bass tone. And like the bass tone is definitely something that like we've developed as time has gone on. And I say we because like Andrew has been very helpful in like kind of like helping me figure out like what would be the best thing for Miracle Blood and what was like slot in the best. And it was actually when we were in the studio putting together This Message Has No Content, which is like a 3-song EP we put out. The studio had a rat, and like we just tried using the rat, and like it's my sound. I mean, I have people come up to me after shows all the time, like asking like how I get that sound, and like the tube amp is huge, but like that rat does everything. Just makes it so dirty and grimy. So like it's definitely a big impact.
I definitely appreciate the fact that you see the commonality between the two records. And, you know, like a thing that I noticed when you were kind of sharing our music was like, you really picked up on the like post-hardcore influence. And I think, you know, I think both of the records have that. The thing that you have to, that shapes our perspective on our first album, Melter, is that is like all those recordings are actually over the course of like 5 years. And I basically remixed it to have more of a consistent tone and a little bit more of in line with what we sound like now. So like, yeah, like I went back and I like dirtied up the bass tone on Melter a little bit because I was like, when we started off, it wasn't so gnarly. And I was like, shit, we've changed and we have this sound now. And when we were coming out with that record, I was like, we want it to sound like we sound now. And I do think the new record is heavier. We were kind of intentional about that, right? We wanted to be like lean into that aspect a little bit more. But I do appreciate that, like, it's not like they're two completely separate things, right? It's definitely like the same band. I just see this new record as like a step in a direction that we wanted to take with this band.
Yeah, and we'll talk about your influences. Trust me, we're going to dig a bit into that because there's some things that I really want to talk to you about. But the next thing I kind of want to talk about is maybe you don't hear it. Maybe it's just me. Again, like I said, I'm kind of a different kind of reviewer. I review what I feel, what I see, what I hear. I don't say, oh, this is a good record or bad record. Go pick it up like we were talking about before. I want people to kind of immerse themselves with me on it. So there's this haunting quality, especially on the brand new record. Not the first record as much, but on this new record where I don't know if you want to say dark or like, frightening at times, where like it gives you chills. And to me, it's a lot of the guitar tone and the way the vocals are arranged on it that do this. So I kind of wanted to ask you, did you feel that haunting vibe on this record? Because I don't feel it on the first one. I think that might be another part where it feels heavier because there's this darkness to this record.
I mean, we definitely wanted to dig into that and into those types of influences a lot more in this. Like, we wanted to like be like, okay, like the first record, it was a lot of like I said, over the course of 5 years, and the sound changed. So it was like finding the sound, right? Figuring out what works with us. But on this one, it was more like, here we are. This is what we do the best. In terms of, this is us trying to put our strongest foot forward. And I just gravitate to that type of thing. When you say like dark, like I think of like influence from like bands like Swans or something like that, where it's like, yeah, right. Or even like The Birthday Party, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, like stuff like that. I love dark, dissonant, stuff like that. And then
hopefully that's what you remind me of. Okay. And that's what I'm saying is you remind me of like a noise rock Nick Cave. That's kind of the vocal style that comes across to me. I didn't want to say it because I didn't know if that was the kind of stuff you dug or not. So
no, it totally is. And it's interesting because like I get the Jello reference most commonly. And I definitely love the Dead Kennedys, but like for this band, that's not necessarily what I was channeling in my head. It was more like Nick Cave, Swans, like that style of thing. But like I did want to make it a little bit more on the fun side than just straight up dark. So maybe it's like that edge of goofiness pushes it into the Jello range. Yeah, I mean, also the subject matter, like I really wanted to dig in on like feelings of like anxiety around like the modern world on this record, and I thought that it fit well with like the tones that we got and the melodies that I was using. So I just tried to like dig into that as much as possible.
You want to say anything, Garrett, or is that good?
I mean, I think a big part of that is also just like the notes we play. There's a lot of the diminished scale in there, and like that just, it sounds spooky. It's like the Black Sabbath from Black Sabbath, like the now, like it's just spooky sounding. It's scary. It's the devil's chord, and we really lean on it.
Oh, that's cool. So now I'm going to start talking about some influences and some things I hear, and I'd love to be able to get your feedback on it. So there is nothing better to me. Now, I'm not saying a noise rock record. I'm saying heavy, noisy rock records. Like those are the things that make me smile the most and gravitate it. Whether it's coming from a punk rock, hardcore, metal side, that's what I dig. There's a couple of bands in general that you make me smile about because it's making me want to go back and listen to those records. So for one, it's Daughters. Okay. Like there is a huge Daughters vibe to me when I listen to this new record. There's Drive Like Jehu is another one that really kind of gives me that kind of like, you made me go back and listen to the first two Drive Like Jehu records like 6 times after listening to your record. Cause I was like, dude, you are stealing guitar tones off that record in the most beautiful manner. Like, and the drum patterns feel that way. And then there's one other band, and I kind of want to talk about it because I'm not really sure how you feel about it, but like I am a huge and rep kind of twin tone kind of guy. All right. So the Cows, there's a that I absolutely adore musically, rhythmically, like the rhythm section, the drums and the bass give me that Cows vibe. And the reason why I say that is the Cows are the perfect example of a noise rock band with a metal rhythm section. That's kind of what they've always reminded me of. And that's what you guys remind me of. So kind of talk about like your favorite bands and styles, but like I feel like you're a noisy rock band with a kind of metal rhythm section. That's kind of the vibe I get. So
I think that's a great description. I love all the bands that you listed. I mean, we're from New England, so Daughters has been a thing here, and Drive Like Jehu was definitely a band that the original drummer and I like definitely like talked about and appreciated. Like we bonded a lot over like the post-hardcore thing, like those bands, and all the way up through like At the Drive-In was like a big one for us too. Cows, I love Cows. That's a really interesting, that's the first time I think we've got that reference. To me, they're like way more wild than us. They're like way more like off the cuff, like but like we're way more like structured and stuff, but still like I get like the vibe, right, of like the dissonance and kind of the wackiness is there. It's funny because like I don't know if like the other guys know any of those bands, to tell you the truth, but for me those three are definitely big influences. Yeah, like obviously like noise rock stuff like the Jesus Lizard, huge influence. I mean, like most musicians, we love all kinds of music, and another one that was big when we first started, that the original drummer and I bonded over, was Mel Banana. So like it's interesting because like it took us a while to realize like, oh, we're like a noise rock band, even though like those influences were like very early on, like, oh, this is like what we're bonding over. But I don't think at the time I knew that that's what the genre that those bands were. I think that our drummer Tom didn't really know either. We were just like, we like this kind of music. Yeah, and then I mean, obviously came up playing hardcore and metal and stuff like that, and I know that Garrett and Anthony did as well. So it was like when they joined, it was like let's bring that kind of edge to it, because it's like very natural for us to do that since we all came up on it.
Cool. Yeah, Garrett, what about you? Yeah, what bands poke your fire, man?
So like I honestly I'm not a huge noise rock guy. Like there's bands I like I do like Melt Banana, I do like Jesus Lizard, and then like there's some like post-hardcore bands, like I love Quicksand. Nice. They're one of my favorites. But like honestly, like I'm really like a classic metal. I like cheesy power metal, and like classic rock, and then like even like a little bit of like emo, like was a guilty pleasure when I was younger. But like I like a lot of different kinds of metal is like my main thing. And like I know Anthony also is like really into metal, and as well as like punk and hardcore. And so like being called a metal rhythm section, I think really like hits on it. We definitely are. Like that's definitely kind of like what's going in the back of our heads, and it's like just like seeped into our subconscious is metal. And like Andrew like metal as well, but like he's very much like rhythm, like noise rock and metal. Like, but like Anthony and I, like it's like the punk and metal is just like that's our thing. And like especially metal for me. Like I do like punk, but like I love like classic metal, like cheesy stuff, proggy stuff. So like I very much appreciate being called like a metal rhythm section.
That's awesome. And I was gonna say, bite your goddamn tongue about cheesy power metal. There's no such cheesy power metal.
Oh no, I love the cheese.
It's just really good power metal. Right? No, I love you that you say that, because you're right. Like there's a cheese factor that's a beautiful element to the power metal, and like you couldn't smile and listen to Blind Guardian if there wasn't a cheese factor.
Right.
Okay, like that's what makes, like, if I can't like watch the Lord of the Rings and listen to Blind Guardian, my world is not going to be the same. So I appreciate you wholeheartedly on that kind of side of things. But anyway, so we'll kind of delve into the next thing. So Nefarious Industries, that seems like an odd goddamn label for you guys to be on, because they're weird as normal. Okay, like I don't know how else to explain it. Like everything I get from them, I either love or hate. And I've told I've told people from the label that when they send it to me, I'm like, you are either going to get Clint loves this or he's never going to review this. And because some of it is just too far in one genre or another. How did you get to them, and why do you feel that are a right fit for Miracle Blood?
Honestly, I think the thing that you just said is the reason, right? Like we are not our music is definitely not for everybody.
It's weird.
It shocks us to this day that like even like you wanted to have us come on, because like I remember when we kind of like conceived of the sound that we have now, I was like, it's gonna be a very specific audience that is enjoying this, and it's been way broader than that, which is amazing to us. But yeah, we found out about them because our buddies, this band Bedtime Magic, from up here, which is like a crazy awesome noise rock band, they had put out something on Nefarious Industries, so it kind of like I had seen that. There was also, they kind of have like every now and then they do like some noise rock stuff. There was another band, Providence, I can't remember their name right now, but they had put out a record on Nefarious as well, so they were kind of on our radar as a possibility. And yeah, that they embrace kind of like the weirdness, right? And Greg does a, he says, he's like, I'm not a genre guy for sure. Like it's more about like the feel of it, and does it have this darkness to it? Is it a little bit off, left to center, a little bit strange? So it kind of makes sense that he was like, heard us and was like, all right, let's do it.
Cool. No, awesome. Yeah, I actually almost did a release with Nefarious a bunch of years back. They literally liked my stuff, got back to me. Greg told me he wanted to do it digitally, put it out, and I had signed to another record label already. So I tell you, I love him. Like he's a musical savant on the things that he gets. So I'm so glad that you're on a label that gives a damn about you and cares about it and cares about unusual music. So that's very cool. Now I'm going to swing it around in a completely different direction. So, Miracle Blood, what would you say the difference is from me listening to you on a record to seeing you live? What's the two biggest differences?
Energy, and you don't get to choose how loud it is.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I mean, I with the newest record we tried, like we wanted it to feel like when we play live, and we always try to bring as much energy as possible. Even being just a three piece, it's tough, right? And so like I feel like we almost have like a chip on our shoulder with being a three piece that we don't have. Like I'm tied to the mic stand a lot of times. I'm behind an instrument, we're all behind instruments. We don't have a front person that can just run around, but we try our darndest to move around as much as possible and bring as much energy as a three piece. And yeah, we also like to be loud.
Fair enough. Like that's a great answer. So I always look at music kind of more of a living organic thing, because to me as a fellow musician, like we bring it to life the world makes it what it is. Like, you know, it'll change from the time that you write the original riff to the first time somebody live hears it to 5 years later. It's going to be a very different beast. So let's say that today is Miracle Blood's last day, okay? And there is no more. And there's a headstone being put down for the band because it's you guys are all going in different directions doing something else. What are the 3 words that you would want on that headstone, both of you?
I feel like weird, loud, and heavy.
That's fine.
Yeah. I think that's good. We use the word, we like the word gnarly a lot. And yeah, weird, I think, is definitely one that we proudly wear. And then I also feel like DIY and punk. Like, I feel like, even though it's Nefarious is a DIY label, right? So like Greg has helped us out massively with this, but at the end of the day, like we're the ones organizing the shows and doing all this stuff, and just we've built this from the ground up, basically. Yeah.
So here's another thinker, because I like when there's moments of silence and you're both got to think about it, because that means that they're good questions. So that makes me happy. So let's say you're both in a record store and some kid picks up your record, but he doesn't know it's you, because like I wouldn't know it was you until I just met you right now. Like literally, I'm not looking at pictures, I'm listening to the music. And he goes, "Hey, do you know this record? What do you think this sounds like?" How would you explain your band to someone that has never heard you before and are just looking at that? Dude, again, on PC as hell, that fucked up album cover that you have. And because like the first time I saw it, I thought you were like a crossover thrash band, because that's kind of the way the album cover looks to me. And then I put it on and I was like, holy shit, this is way more awesome than I was expecting. It's something totally different. But how would you explain your band to someone that's never heard it before?
It's a really good question. I mean, it kind of just brings up the ghost of like before we like really settled on like calling ourselves noise rock, where we like there must have been like 6 different genres we would tell people. Like there was one point where we were just being like, "Oh, we're an alternative band." It's like I still don't know how to describe what we do with someone.
Somebody at our most recent show, somebody was like, "Oh, you guys are like a cross between Jesus Lizard and Black Flag," and I was like, I like that. Like, the only thing that I'd say is missing is like the kind of like metal stuff. So like I would add in like a Converge or something like that, which is another like big influence on me. But like somewhere in between those 3 things, I feel like you can find where we are.
Cool. So I guess this is a perfect tie into that. What would the perfect live bill be for you? Like if you could play like with any bands, like pick 2 or 3 bands that would make the perfect show, like a one-off show that you could get to do, that would be like your desert island show.
Yeah, I mean, I if it was going to be 2 bands, I'd probably pick Jesus Lizard and Converge, or like I just feel like that overlap would be perfectly where we sit. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Garrett, what about you, my friend?
Future of the Left and Quicksand.
Wow,
Nice.
that's awesome.
I got another one too, System of a Down.
Oh yeah,
that because we have that kind of like weird but kind of fun edge, and Future of the Left is a great pick as well.
Yeah. That was a left to center moment for me. I was shocked that you said that. But no, go ahead.
Yeah, both Future of the Left and really System of a Down as well. There's like a very big comedic element, which we haven't really talked about that today yet, but like there is a kind of like sense of humor both in like the lyrics, kind of just like the way we make things sound, like the way we like present ourselves live. We don't take ourselves we take ourselves seriously without taking ourselves seriously, if that makes sense. Like we like try and like I mean, like as much as like you can, while not being a jerk, like act like professionally and stuff, and like take the music and the performance and everything very seriously, and like because there's weight to it, but like we don't take ourselves as like people seriously, and like we don't like take our music like seriously in a sense of like you can't poke fun at it.
Yeah, we try to keep it fun still, like, right, like it's, you know, we take doing this seriously, and we want to do it to our highest level, but we still want to have fun with it.
Exactly.
And have it be kind of fun. I'm not, now that you've said it, I'm like kind of like, damn, System of a Down, Future of Left, Miracle Blood would be a crazy show.
I think that might be the final joint answer.
Man,
cool. So Garrett, you beat me to it because I was about to just talk about that, but you already kind of said the humorous side. So the band that I want to see you play with was Devin Townsend, and the reason why I want to see that is because I feel like you are the hardcore kind of noise rock other side of what Devin Townsend does. Because yeah, some of your songs have the most tongue-in-cheek moments, just like Devin Townsend does, but you play them skillfully, which is like one of the greatest things in the world. And the other band that I was going to say on a perfect bill for me would be Mastodon. And the reason why I say Mastodon is you're heavy enough to play with them, and you're weird enough to play with them, because people don't realize like there's two different diverged roads of Mastodon, and I don't think everybody likes all Mastodon except for maybe folks like yourself and me, where yeah, they go like stoner weird psychedelic rock, and they go the most brutal post-hardcore you ever want to hear in your life, like to almost to a sludgy doomy level. And you know, people that like the first two records normally don't like the last two records. Like that's not who they are. But I just kind of feel like you would encapsulate a show like that perfectly to me. So
I mean, yeah, if you can hook that up, that'd be great. Sure.
I do know some of the guys in Mastodon. Okay. Maybe I can make it happen. But like I said, no, awesome. So I want to talk about two songs off the new record in particular that are my absolute goddamn favorites, and you can kind of tell me about them a bit and what you did with them and how you feel about it. The first one is Ghost Marching Slow. That is absolutely my second favorite song on there. Not the first. I'm gonna make you wait so you know which one the first one is. But can we talk about that one? I feel like if there was one song that I would play for people and say, this is Miracle Blood, that's the one I would play. So
that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like that song came towards the later part of writing this record. And it was like one of those songs that were like, let's go all in heavy. Let's go all in heavy. It's slower, right? Like it's like probably our slowest song, other than I guess some of the early stuff we had some slow stuff, but on this album it's definitely the slowest song. That song, I think I was trying to channel Melvin's quite a bit, and a little bit of Converge as well. The lyrics ended up being about, so my father has Parkinson's disease, and it's been like a slow like deterioration, and it kind of is just trying to like grapple with what that must be like for the person who's experiencing it, but I also try to keep it fun and keep it have a sense of humor about itself.
So then I'm not crazy on the eggnog Melvin's vibe on it. Like that was the thing. I could hear the buzzo elements like ripping through that song. So that cool. Garrett, talk about it too.
Yeah, I mean, like that's one of my favorite songs to play, just because like bass line just feels crushing on that, and it's like a good groove to get into, and kind of like on like the lyrical content of the song. Like I didn't like call what like the inspiration was, but like, and I don't remember exactly how, but like I remember Andrew and I, like while like the song was like kind of like getting towards the end of forming, like we had a conversation about like what it was, and like I kind of and I don't remember the like exact words in the conversation, but like it kind of like was like, oh, it's like giving me like this kind of feeling, and like with like there's a sense of loss and like things like slipping away from you. And like he was just like, yeah, like, and then told me about kind of like what inspired the song. And I think that it kind of like speaks to this kind of like art there that I was like, without really knowing what it was about, was kind of like getting there on my own, like as we were like going through the process of writing it. Because like lyrically it's all Andrew, so like what I pick up from the lyrics, like so sometimes like I am completely wrong about what the song writing is about, like when it comes to lyrics, but that one, like it hits like a gut punch. And like I went through a kind of similar thing with my grandparents in the past, and like so like it really hit me there.
Got you. No, cool. So my absolute favorite song on this record is "Prepare for Breakfast."
Yes.
And the reason why I love that song is exactly what we were talking about. There's a darkness, a humor, a heaviness, but there's this goddamn poppy element that I just like, I cannot get out of my head when I listen to that song. It reminds me of like if Mr. Bungle decided to just like make a Miracle Blood song. Like that's what it kind of reminds me of. But talk to me about that, because like that song, every time I listen to it, puts a smile on my face.
Very glad to hear that. Yeah, Garrett's probably laughing because he knows how much I love Mr. Bungle.
Yeah.
California is literally like one of my top albums of all times. Like so good.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what to say about that one other than like I remember being like, I want to make a song that starts off when the vocals hit right away, and like a song where it's like, yeah, based around just like hits at the beginning, and then we just like, you know, it always starts with like one idea, and then you have to figure out, well, how do you make it an actual song that's not just one thing over and over again. And that's how we got like all those riffs at the end. It's interesting. It feels like one of our most metal songs, just because there's like just like riff, riff, riff. And it's another one that came towards the end of the writing of the record. But the more we play it live, the more we really like playing it, and it's become like we put it as a closer on the album, but it's also become like a closer live as well, just because it has a nice kind of a lot of energy to it, and then also has that kind of at the end has like that kind of closure to it as well.
Yeah, over time, that's my favorite song on the album. So like that's why I was like excited when you said that, because like I just love playing that song so much. I don't think there's another song that I have as much fun playing. And it didn't start that way. Like it's not that like I didn't like it in the past, but like there are other songs I like, and just like as we play that song again and again, I just like it more and more, and it's just like kind of become like for me like the dominant song on the album. That and like now that it's released, I can listen to it on Spotify, and like I find myself like listening to that song in particular. And I just love the momentum of the song. Like it's got fast parts, it's got like really crushing slow like parts, and it's just so fun to play, like especially like that ending section when like it really picks up the speed and like complexity.
Yeah, I know Anthony has said that it has his favorite beat that he's written for us in it as well. And yeah.
Cool. No, awesome. All right. So we've talked enough about music right now. What I kind of like to do is kind of go outside the box, and you guys, I can tell like a lot of other things. Like if you weren't doing music, what's your other hobbies? What's the other things you love? What makes you you?
I mean, for me, like I do art, visual art, like almost all of our visual art I've made, like the 2 record covers I've done. I love snowboarding, and in my day job, I'm a teacher, and I truly love that too. I teach science. I love science. I love working with kids too. So yeah, that's me.
Cool.
I'm like, for me, it's like I'm a big gamer. I play a lot of video games, like strategy games and stuff, particularly, but like other stuff as well. But like, I also like love movies, and like particularly horror movies, and like that's something that the three of us have also kind of bonded over. And you might pick up on that, like especially with like the Lobotomizer and Phenomenon music videos. That we really like horror movies, and like just like kind of like some of the visual elements that Andrew's incorporated into stuff. Love spooky shit.
No, cool. So like I said, I totally get it. As my job, I'm an IT manager for a web hosting company, so I'm a tech nerd, and like that's like one of my loves in the world. I go to comic book and Comic Cons all the time. I just went to New York Comic Con. I'm going to Toronto in March to go to the Canadian Comic Con up there, and then like I said, I make music too. So like, I could feel that we were kind of brethren. And as far as the horror goes, I love it because I have a sickness for kaiju movies. So like Godzilla, like Gamera, Rodan, stuff like that. You would think it's funny, but like it's like there's a sickness for it that I have. So. But I guess what I'm going to do is say, what's 2025 going to bring for Miracle Blood? Like, tell me a little bit. Well, the year's over. Like, what's the new year going to bring for you guys?
I mean, we're going to be touring on this album. We're going to be playing a lot of shows on this album. We also have, we'll just call it unreleased stuff from this era of our band that will be put out. We have some unreleased tracks. We have some live things that have been recorded. So yeah, there's plenty of things to come in this year, and we also have been writing quite a bit as well. So we're basically full steam on.
Never stop cooking.
So the last question I'm going to give you is the one I give a lot of bands, and it's a thinker, so I'm not expecting an answer right away. But if you could have one band, one artist, I don't care who it is, take one of your songs and make it theirs, who would it be and why?
I think I'm going to go back to System of a Down, just because I think that would be really interesting. And I feel like they are unafraid enough to take it in a different direction rather than just having it be what we've already done.
I feel like, and it's probably gonna roll his eyes at me, but Halloween. I love Halloween. Is my favorite power metal band, or one of my favorite bands, and like
not even Maiden. You went straight to Halloween.
Oh yeah, because well, here's the thing, Halloween. They're like Maiden is kind of like unintentionally goofy sometimes. Halloween, when they're goofy, it's on purpose. And like I feel like they could just do some ridiculous, unhinged shit.
Yeah, like 15 minutes solo in one of our songs would be sick.
So Garrett, I'm going to ask, which vocalist in Halloween?
Oh, it's look. I mean, respect to all three of them. Yeah. And like the cop-out answer would be, if you've listened to the new album, you know the answer is all three.
Yep. Oh no, I agree, but I'm saying if you had to pick
Kiske, like no hesitation. I don't even need to like consider for a moment. Like it's his voice is like the like ultimate voice so far as I'm concerned. Like I've never heard a vocalist that I've liked as much as him.
From one power metal nerd to another, I respect your views 100%. But like the sheer fact that you said all three made me smile, because like that live performance where all three of them are like, oh, that it's just mind blowing.
I've seen them twice since they've like done that lineup, and like it's incredible.
I told you this might diverge into different places and weird places, and it happens. It's just what it is. So do you guys, is this your only band, or do you guys have other bands? Do you do other music as well too? I'm always curious on that side of things.
This is it for us, but Anthony's also in a hardcore band, Billy, which is fucking sick, and they rip.
Super good. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I don't have the capacity to do multiple bands.
Fair
Power
enough.
to the people who can do that. It's amazing to me.
Nah,
I
fair
played
enough.
in a post-punk band like alongside this. Like it's interestingly the like fizzle out of that band kind of coincided with when Tom left Miracle Blood. And like it was one of those like we just stopped practicing and I kind of realized it's like, you know what, like I want to like just like focus on Miracle Blood. And like as that happened, like we started like spending more time and being a little bit more committed to like pushing this as far as we can. So that kind of happened very conveniently, and there was no awkwardness because the band just kind of like broke itself up.
Fair enough. But guys, thank you so much for doing this. I absolutely appreciate it. It's been an absolute blast. These are my favorite kind of interviews where they're just kind of a bunch of guys talking about things that they love. And again, the new record is just mind blowing. I'm so glad I got to talk to you. More people should talk to you. How's that sound? All right. I hope more people do interviews with you. I look forward to the next record very much. And I just want to say thank you for taking your time with me.
Thank you so much for having us, man. It's been
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for, taking interest and having us on. And it was awesome talking to you. Clearly you do your homework with listening and, you picked up on a lot of things that, people have not picked up on with this record. So appreciate you very much.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thank you again. Clint from the Doorway too, hanging out with the dudes from Miracle Blood. It's been a blast. So